everybody. It is great to have you here with us this afternoon, and I'm thrilled that you're joining us. My name is Professor Betsy McCann, and I am proud to be the director of the University of Minnesota Marching Band. I know some of you I've met, some of you I have not, and I hope to be able to meet you soon. So we have a great selection of panelists here, and we're all going to have a chance to introduce ourselves. But first, I'm just going to give you all a quick overview to the band, who we are, what we do, and hopefully answer some of those kind of general broad questions right away. So in the Pride of Minnesota, we have 320 students who march in the band. They come from all over the country and even internationally, and our students represent every school in the University of Minnesota. So whatever major you're looking at, whatever you're thinking, there's probably somebody in your area who's also in the band. So it's a fantastic group in that way that we represent our entire campus and come together and work together, which is pretty fun. We play at all of our home football games. There are 7 home games every year. We perform a pregame show at those. That's the same every time, but we rotate positions and we rotate people in and out. So there's always a little bit of difference in that pregame show. And then each game we do a different halftime show. So every one of those 7 games, we have new music, we have new drill, and we get a huge variety of what we do performing, which is a blast and a lot of fun. And it adds to that fast-paced learning environment that we have that's great. So we do work really hard, of course, to put all that on. We rehearse 4 days a week. We are a class, just like any other class you take at the university. You register for marching band. It's a 2-credit course. And we have class at TCF Bank Stadium 4 days a week. On our home game weekends, we also have a couple extra rehearsals just to make sure we're really ready for those performances. Outside of that scope, we perform for quite a few extra events. So different events on the University of Minnesota campus. There are some that we do every year. There are some that kind of go in and out. And we do a lot of community appearances too. And much of that work is not necessarily the full band, but small groups that will get together and go play gigs kind of all over the city's area. So there are a ton of performance opportunities outside just what we do for football. Now, like I said, we work really hard. And one of the great things about being in the band is being with 319 other people who love what they're doing and love to work hard and love to create the best product we possibly can. But band is a lot more than that. We have a ton of fun. And I think everybody here can echo that. It's just a great time. And part of that is that when you join the band, you are going to make some of the best friends for your entire life. Coming to SPAT camp to start the season, you have this intense time together with people who are going to become your roommates. They're going to become your study buddies. They're going to become your acquaintances throughout your college degree. And certainly people's band friends become their life friends. And our alumni will tell you that that's the case. We remain close for life. So that's pretty incredible. We call band our band family a lot of the time. And band is kind of home for us, our home away from home when we're on campus. So that family atmosphere is incredible. We also get a lot of academic support. Like I said, there are students from all majors. So wherever you're going in school, there could be a junior or a senior who has taken those classes and understands it. And there's going to be other people your age in those classes that you can work together with. And that's an incredible thing, especially when we spend so much time in band for the fall. It's nice to have that extra support. And it's also amazing just to learn what it's like to be part of something so much bigger than any one of us. This band has been around for 128 years. When we start this fall, we're going to be in season 129. So think about the number of people who have contributed to this band and have done their little part to make it better and make it better and make it better every single time. And all of those individuals have built what we have now. And it's our job now to do our little part to make it the best it can be and keep moving forward. And that's a pretty exciting thing. And it's a pretty big task too, but something that everyone in our band family takes seriously and loves. And we're a community that's always working to make things better and always finding the next best step and always taking things a step further. And it's an incredibly invigorating, exciting place to be. So I hope you all are totally pumped about that and really excited to get your auditions in and join us. It's an amazing group on the university campus, and we can't wait to have you come in and be a part of our band family. So I'm going to turn it over now to my amazing teaching partner and colleague and friend, Dr. Lance Sample, and he's going to talk a little bit about this fall, being that, of course, we don't anticipate this fall to be 100% 100% the norm for band. So Dr. Sample, over to you.
Thank you, Professor McCann. Is what Professor McCann just said. I'm Dr. Lance Sample. I'm the Assistant Director of the Marching Band here in Athletic Bands here at the University of Minnesota. So like what Professor McCann said, we will have marching band. We're just a little bit more uncertain as to what exactly that's going to be. But we are both Professor McCann and I will definitely say in this whole thing that our safety is top priority for you. We want to make sure that you are safe and that everyone in the program that's involved with the program is safe. That is our top priority. So regardless of how the semester pans out and what information we receive, more information we receive through up until the start of the semester, that is always our top priority. So yes, regardless of whether we have football season or how it's going to be truncated or however it's going to be laid out, we will have marching band this fall. We're looking for it to be performing possibly in person. If we are told that it needs to be done virtually, we will meet virtually. And we will also have virtual performances as well. We are in the works of having that scenario be the plan as well. So we are looking at all possible scenarios and trying to and getting our ducks in a row, so to speak, as we move forward in with the information that we get. We did get information, obviously, from the university of saying that it looks like school will be starting at the original time or the original date schedule. And therefore, our SPAC camp, which is our marching band camp, is usually typically 2 weeks prior to that. So we are planning for that to be the case. If there's anything that that needs to be adjusted with that, with any further information, we would let you know, obviously, with that, and we would make those adjustments. One key piece of information that we have received is the fact that they are looking to have a 50-person threshold per class. And if we are a class that exceeds that amount, that we are basically all virtual. Now, obviously, the marching band consists of 320 plus members and students and staff. So obviously, we would be over that threshold. So because of that, we are looking to petition to have that waived, with the fact that we have come up with several strategies to make it so that everyone will meet in smaller groups, that the whole band does not meet all together. We're just really figuring out and already in way have plans in place to make sure that everyone is safe and that we all meet together. And some of those strategies are including meeting outdoors for rehearsal throughout the entire season and rehearsing in small groups if we have to be inside, and having several locations to make that happen. Only having the band, portion of the band perform and rehearse at once has been one strategy that we have come up with, another strategy we have come up with, and then also providing various entrance and exit strategies for students entering into our facility here at TCF Bank Stadium, and also onto the field if we ever have that opportunity of performing on the field as well. Also, with our drill rehearsals, we are prepared and planning to have the drill altered in such a way that we meet social distancing requirements. And then also in our game day scenarios or game day situations, we are planning to have or be in the stands at a socially and social distancing as well. So that's the plan for us for this season. It is also worth knowing that our athletic departments wants us to perform. They really, really love what we do. And they believe that they know that we are a very big part of the game day experience for the fans and everyone on campus. So that is very, very important on their list, and they are doing whatever they can to make it so that, based on the information they receive, that they allow us to be able to perform in some capacity throughout the game. So as of right now, that's all that we have for that. And I'm going to now pass it over to, I guess, our MC for this Zoom Q&A, and that is our announcer, Mr. Jason Langworthy. Jason.
Thank you, Dr. Sample. It's time for the Q&A. So here we go. We're going to do. We have an excellent panel that's ready to respond to your questions. If you look somewhere on your screen, it's either going to be on the top or the bottom. There's a little Q&A button. If you click on that, that gives you the ability to ask a question. It also gives you the ability to upvote questions, and we definitely want to respond to as many and all of the questions that you might have. To give you time to think of some questions and to get those going, we'll start with a couple of questions that we thought would be helpful for lots of people to hear about. But before we get started with that, I'm going to ask the panel to introduce themselves, and I believe we'll start with Bethany. So Bethany, please introduce yourself, and then we'll just go right around the panel.
All right. I'm Bethany. I'm going into my 4th year in the band and also my 4th year in school. I play the clarinet, and I'm also the block captain, which is like an assistant drum major type position. And I'm majoring in environmental science, policy, and management, minoring in soil science and music. So I'm kind of all over the board there.
My name is Caroline Pritchard. I am a 2nd year student, and I'll be a 2nd year in the marching band. I'm part of the trumpet section, and I'm majoring in strategic communication in the journalism school.
My name is Madeline DeGrace. I am a rising junior in the school, and this will be my 3rd year in marching band. I am the team lead of the Colorguard section, and I'm majoring in French and history.
And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tyrese Leverty. I use he, him, his pronouns. I am currently a senior. I'm going into my senior year in the fall. I'm super excited to also be joining back with the band for my 3rd year and my final year. Inside the drum line, I play bass drum, and this year I've been appointed bass drum section leader, and so I'm super excited to take on that role. And outside of the band, I study journalism, professional strategic communication with minors in art and interdisciplinary design.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for being here and for taking some time to join us and to respond to questions for those interested in the marching band. So let's start with sort of a general question. Do I need prior experience with marching to be in the band? So if I haven't marched before, do I need that experience or not? Caroline, do you want to start us off?
Wait, sorry, what?
Go ahead, start us off.
Okay, thanks, sorry. I came into the band last year having never marched before, ever in my life. It was something that my high school had not offered, but I was super interested in. So coming to SPAC Camp was my first exposure to marching ever. And although it seemed overwhelming at first, it was really easy to catch on because we teach you everything you need to know our style of marching, and we practice it so much. So it's really not something you need to come in knowing at all.
Great. How about for Colorguard?
So for the Colorguard section, we require no previous, similar to the WINS, we require no previous experience with marching. We will teach you how to spin, both rifle and flag, and how we march, and yeah.
Great. And drumline?
That's me. That's a great question. You know, just like what Carolyn had said, I myself also did have an opportunity to be a part of a marching band, but our marching band does things differently because we're a different marching band. And so while it may be great to have some experience ahead of time, even that you might have to learn all over again, kind of what that really looks like inside our program. And so I would say everyone is clean across the field, no matter where you're starting at. We will start to teach you as soon as pre-auditions for the drumline what we're expecting as far as marching.
Excellent. Let's go to our next question. Can I be a part of other bands and activities at the same time as marching band? What if I have classes that overlap with marching band? Bethany, can you help us out with that one?
Absolutely. So as I said in the beginning, I have kind of a diverse major as well as 2 minors. I'm in class all the time. And so it really is possible to balance the heavy workload of classes with marching band if you're willing to be diligent about time management. It's really just about being organized and staying on top of things. So if you are willing to put in that work, it is completely doable. There's also programs within the band and just tons of people in band that are willing to help you all the time. I know these past couple of years we've had study programs and tutoring programs if you need help in school, as well as just like making connections with some of the vets that have done it before and they're there to help you too. If you have a class at the same time as marching band, which has happened to me, it's as simple as filling out a form that says that I need to be enrolled in these two classes. I know that they're at the same time, but I can do it. And you will be in your academic class during that time, and then come to band as soon as you can. And there's an entire like makeup time policy that if that happens, it's not too hard to figure out. So you'll just be asked to spend some time outside of band working on band stuff to make up for the time that you weren't there. And it's not even like a 1-for-1 time ratio. It's a quarter of the time that you missed of band you have to spend helping band, which is super easy to make up. I've never had a problem with it.
Great. Let's turn to your questions next. The first one, what are the most important things to include in the audition video? Any tips for success? Common mistakes? Anyone, feel free to jump in on that.
I'll jump in with that one since I have the privilege and pleasure of watching all of the audition videos. So looking at that audition video, hopefully you've seen the requirements already. If not, you can check out our website and it's all there. So we'll direct you to that. And it is a little different for the different sections. So I'm going to talk first just about the winds and brass video that's due on the 30th of this month, because that's kind of like the first thing. And then maybe Madeline, maybe we'll go to you for guard next. And then Tyrese, it's totally different because we're not doing video. So I don't know if we want to talk about drumline now or save that for later for you. So for the wind and brass videos, it's important to know that you don't have to do everything in one take. You certainly can, but being that it's a video, we know that a lot of people are going to do multiple takes, and that's okay. So if you want to record, your scales on one day and then go fresh the next day for some of the school songs or something, that is a-okay. You're welcome to do that. I would definitely recommend doing the extra solo not requirement, but the optional solo that you can add in if you have some footage that you can use. Now, I know those of you who are finishing high school maybe didn't get to your solo and ensemble this year. I don't know if you have that recent video. Those of you who are already in college may not have some recent playing video, but if you have a solo that you've worked on and you can record that, that just helps give us a little extra glimpse into your playing, and that's always helpful for us to hear. So I would go with that. In your personal statement, really think about how can I, express who I am and why I want to be part of this band and what it means to me. Why do I want to be part of this family and work so hard and put all of this in, and what's important to me with that? So that's really what we're looking for there. The last thing I say to people, if they play multiple instruments, we get the question a lot, well, I play alto sax and I play tenor sax. Or on the drumline side, I could play multiple of these instruments or whatever it happens to be. Audition on as many as you're comfortable. The auditions are competitive. I'm not going to pretend they're not, but it's different every year as far as which sections are more competitive than others. And it just depends on how many people are graduating out of that section, therefore how many spots we have open and how many people audition, obviously. So if you're comfortable on more than one instrument, go ahead and audition on more than one instrument, and that's totally okay. And you can let us know, in your statement, my preference would be to play in the flute section, but I also really love playing tenor sax and jazz band, and I'd like to do that too. So let us know your thoughts there, but you're welcome to do more than one. Madeline, do you want to talk a bit about the Colorguard side of things with what's coming up for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we also require a video audition, or we recommend a video audition, which is also due on June 30th. It is on it's on our website, kind of like what you need in it. It's basics. So if you have prior Colorguard experience, it's drop spins and then some traps and some stirs. And then what you can toss and stuff, and then a 32 count piece of choreography. You can audition on both flag and rifle, because we do have a rifle line, but it is not required. You can, if you've never had rifle experience, it's not a detriment. After that, there is a guard camp that we host in August, and it will be at TCF. And if you don't have prior experience or previous experience, but you'd still like to audition for the guard, on the first day of camp, which will be August 6th through 9th at TCF, the first morning part of camp will be like a clinic where we will teach you all the basics, and you'll kind of learn how to spin and how to be on the guard, and we'll teach you rouser, and it'll be a good welcome into the guard. And then the next 3 days will be learning school songs and more basics and kind of how we do things. We use 6-foot poles and 39-inch rifles. You can audition on any size rifle you'd like to, and any size flag you'd like to, if you have the equipment to send in the video audition. But like I said, don't think it's a detriment if you don't have that. Still show up in August at TCF, or email us if you'd like more information. Yeah, that's all I've got for guard.
I'll add in quick on the guard side. Everybody, we just put in the chat the link to the guard website. So if you open up the chat, you can get in and see more details there.
And then drumline, Tyrese?
Of course. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, we have to do something a little bit different and a little bit unique for drumline this year. And so we've devised an entirely new way of going about auditions, and I'd love to share that with you all today. So our auditions have been pushed back to August 15th at 9 a.m. at TCF Bank Stadium. But because that's such a long time between now and then, we are actually going ahead and giving the opportunity to teach everyone via our music, or the learning process via our weekly emails that I send out every Saturday. I just went out this morning about different parts of our music. And that way people can get the music in their hands. They can send in feedback videos each week to drumline section leaders like myself to receive feedback. However, that is purely just to make sure that they're comfortable with our music, so that during the audition, people can go ahead and excel, and those who do get asked to become part of the drumline and accept, and then press on and already know all of the music. So I want to clarify that that's two separate things. That audition materials, of course, it's just what you're presenting on that day, and that's really where the decision is being made. But in order to move on from that date and then turn around really quickly within a week or so and start with SPAC Camp, it's important for us to have people be comfortable with our music too. So we're doing that week by week via those different video assignments, and then that'll all lead up to that August 15th date, with one date right before, that is August 14th from 7 to 9 p.m. We'll hopefully bring everyone together for some pre-auditions, just like what I had mentioned earlier, where we'll start to teach you about different drumming, the physical elements instead of just video elements. That's important. And of course, any other questions that people have at that time. All of this information and more can not only be found at our website, drumline.umn.edu, but if you haven't already, I recommend contacting myself. You could email me at leber151@umn.edu to get you on the recruitment mailing list. That's really something I work on every single week, and that is my direct line from me to you all as the recruitment ambassador for the drumline, and I'll keep you up to date with everything you need to know there.
Thanks, Tyrese. And everybody, we just put the drumline website in the chat as well, if you want to go check that out.
Excellent. And I'll just mention there were a few other questions about auditions, one about Pep Band in the fall and notification. We're also answering those via text in the Q&A, so you should be able to see that. Dr. Sample responded to the Pep Band one, and our fantastic marching band instructor, Skeeter Burrows, is also answering those as well. So, but please keep submitting the questions. This is great. So let's turn to a SPAC Camp question. So what is SPAT Camp? How is rooming going to happen? Perhaps Dr. Sample or Professor McCann, you could address that. And then for the rest of the panel, what is it like? What is SPAT Camp? What it's like? What should someone anticipate? So perhaps Dr. Sample, do you want to talk maybe a little bit sort of initial planning or thinking around rooming and logistics in our COVID adjusted world?
Sure. Well, and Professor McCann, you can jump in whenever on this, but as far as what we know right now, we are looking to obviously have SPAT Camp. And as far as living arrangements, as far as the dorms, we're still getting a little bit more information regarding that at a time in the coming days and weeks. So as far as we're looking of students being able to move into the dorms for SPAT Camp, we're not sure as to the capacity. It might be one student per room. We're right now is still in the air with that. So Professor McCann, do you have anything extra with that as well?
No, that's right on. So we're working really closely with the university. Just like Dr. Sample said, our number one goal is all of your health and safety. That's the university's goal as well. So we're working to get one person per dorm room for camp so that you're not coming in and, rooming with somebody else who you don't know. Those of you in your apartments at home, you just, be with all your roommates. So hopefully that's going to happen. But a lot of the details are still being worked out as we and everybody in the university scrambles. Dining is another thing that we're working really hard to make sure that it's as safe and healthy as possible in the dining hall. So know that we're taking that really seriously, and we're working hard to make sure that every precaution that can be taken is. I'll also just throw in our goal is health and safety, number one. Number two is to give you all the best experience and give you the experience that you're here for in marching band. Our students come for many, many reasons, and we want to make sure that you get what you're looking for out of this band, whether you're coming back as a senior or whether you're starting as a new band member this year. So that being said, we know that performance is a big reason people want to be here, and we're planning on performing live and doing that safely as best we can. And if things start to shift and start to change, we'll find ways to adjust. But if you as an individual are not comfortable for whatever reason, taking class live and being in, a small group rehearsal or a larger group rehearsal, whatever it is, there will be options for you to participate virtually as well. So as we think forward to things like SPAT Camp, and I want to make sure I'm in one room by myself, we're working on that. If you have ways that you need to be comfortable participating, we're going to work with you to find ways that you're comfortable participating this fall. So not totally related to SPAT Camp dorms, but I wanted to throw that in there as well. So let's go to students now. What is SPAT Camp like? What are we talking about when we talk about SPAT Camp?
I can start with this. So SPAT Camp is our band camp. The term SPAT is something that we wear on our shoes, so it's similar to like a boot camp. And it's the 2 weeks approximately before the season starts, and we go through everything that you need to know to be a successful member of the band. The culmination of SPAT Camp is the first football game, as well as typically a parade performance, which will most likely not be happening this year. But that's just to emphasize that by the end of SPAT Camp, you'll know how to be in this band. And the first couple of days is just rookies and leaders, and all of Garden Drumline are together at this point. But for the wins, it's just the rookies and the leaders. So you really have time to work in smaller groups and get to know your peers in that time.
Great. Anyone else?
I can talk about that too, because I was a rookie this past year. And I didn't really know what to expect from SPAT Camp just because I hadn't never marched before. And the University of Minnesota is special because we do high step marching. So just learning all of the steps and just rehearsing those every single day. But like Bethany said, you really just have to trust the process, because by the end, you really do know so much more than you ever thought was possible. But yeah, it's super fun.
I think I'll shortly follow up with that. Thank you, Carolyn. with saying that SPAC Camp is different things for different people. As Bethany described, there already is kind of an introduction period, especially for rookies, to help them just get comfortable with us, right? And being in this size and grandeur of a band. And then we add in the vets as well. Of course, and drumline and color guard are there for the whole ride, which we love. But there are a couple of things that SPAC Camp is really emphasizing, right? It's that hard work and that mentality that we have that teaches you kind of what this band really takes. And then we carry that mentality throughout the rest of the season. It's that ability to learn and learn quickly, right? We do have those 2 quick weeks that start off feeling like, oh my gosh, this is 14 days. And by the end of it, it's like, that was 14 days. And then of course, the last thing is fun. It's so awesome to be finally around all of these people that you turn into your family, as has been said before. And those 3 elements to SPAC Camp, no matter what it looks like, will not change. And so look forward to that as we continue to give more information as far as what the logistics are. You can for sure expect hard work, learning, and fun.
Yeah, and so to briefly piggyback off that, because it's been mentioned a couple of times, guard and drumline are there for both the full 2 weeks. And it's really, really fun because we all already kind of know each other from guard camp. So it's kind of like, hey, we're back together again. We're going to hang out and we can make more memories and have more fun. And Kelly and Sarisa, our instructors, they try to make SPAC Camp really fun, and we learn a lot of work and halftime and choruses and school songs, and we rehearse all the time, and it's really fun. And kind of like what everybody else was saying, it's almost shocking to see how much your brain can remember in those 2 weeks, but by the end of it you're sitting there and you've got mid-March stuck in your head and you're like, this was awesome, and you're so surprised at yourself, and it's just amazing. Yeah.
Great, thanks everyone. Bethany, can you tell us, you're our block captain, can you tell us super quickly what a block captain is, what a drum major is? I also hear there's some sort of drum major, and kind of overall leadership in our band and the opportunities there.
Yes. So I guess I'll start with the drum major. The drum major is the primary student leader of the band. So our current drum major is Chamberlain Greg. He's the one who's wearing the different uniform and the really tall hat, and spinning a mace on the field. And then the block captain is termed second in command to that. And so aside from performance, so in performances, I'm on the field playing the clarinet. Hold on, the lights just turned off. On the field playing the clarinet with my section. But in terms of leadership and teaching, the 2 of us really do work together as a team to put together the fundamental teaches for the band and general leadership, the overarching leadership. So we work with section leaders then, who are then in more direct contact with each individual section. The audition process for that is actually the same for the 2 of us, and it starts in spring semester, and it's open to every member of the band. It starts with an application, and then we have in-person practices, and the process goes on from there. So people in the panel, is there anything I missed in that lightning round?
That made sense to me. Thank you. You can advance to the next round. So Tyrese, we have a question about drumline auditions. How would you do it with drumline auditions, since the auditions are after orientation? Any help there?
Interesting. Do you think that question is more in reference to just timing or logistics? I'm just curious what angle I'd like to take.
I'm wondering if it's in reference to registration.
I see. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I personally have an answer on the registration side of things. Perhaps one of the staff members could help me out with that. But yeah, typically, as Professor McCann mentioned, this is a class, and so we would want to make sure that you're registered for that, as has been in the past, but might change in the future. drumline has typically met with the band several times throughout the week and then had an additional session later on in one of the nights or one of the evenings. I'm not sure if that will continue, but that's just something to kind of keep in mind when you are scheduling classes over the summer and orientation, that whatever form band does take, that there will be that extra time commitment, likely in the afternoon or at some point. And so that's probably something to make sure that you're very clear with your counselor or whoever you work with in your registration office. And then, of course, we would probably work after you would be invited to the drumline. We'd work with you and that individual to make sure that your classes work in tandem with marching band. And then just like what Bethany mentioned earlier, we do have other options such as class conflicts and other things to make sure that people are here as much as they can be, and when they can't, then that is okay too.
And to piggyback off of that, if it's more related to registration, when I was going through orientation, I put it into my schedule on Schedule Builder, which will make sense once you've gone through orientation, and you're not able to actually add the course during that time officially. But you do want to place it in your schedule so you see how you can add your other classes in accordance to that time block already in there. So when I was setting it up, I put it on my calendar. And then once I was admitted to the band, we got a course registration number. So then we're actually officially able to add that to our schedule, if that helps.
Great, thank you.
Jason, I'm going to jump in and add one more note on that. This is all right on. And the one thing that I do want to make sure all of our potential new members know is that, yes, you can miss band for other classes if things overlap. If you can take a different section of that other class, that's going to be most helpful. So if you can move things around so that you don't have to miss band, that's obviously ideal. And we do have a limit of missing a total of one band rehearsal as the most you can miss as a new member. Now that doesn't have to be like, I'm only missing Monday for class. You could miss 30 minutes on Monday and 30 minutes on Wednesday, and that would be okay. But it doesn't work for new members to be missing like all of Monday and all of Wednesday. So there is a limit of that time. We meet every day of the week, 4:15 to 6. So that's that time that you want to kind of block off in your schedule. Fridays, some Fridays we meet, some Fridays we don't. It depends on the week for that. But plan on that 4:15 to 6 time. And if you're missing parts of multiple days, you just need to make sure the time doesn't go over one full day of rehearsal.
Great. We keep having questions come in. Please continue to ask questions. It's excellent. And we're going to take this one next. So for our panelists, do you juggle school, band, and work, or do you just not have jobs during the band season? Can you kind of talk about that that balance of what you do during fall semester with marching band when you have the rehearsal schedule that Professor McCann just laid out?
So I can talk about that because I have an on-campus job. And while it is just the peer advisor in the history department, it is a 10-hour-a-week job. And I typically schedule it so that it doesn't interfere with band, or it's in a block, I usually schedule in the morning, so then I have my afternoons kind of free for band and homework and other classes. My job allows me to do homework at work, so that makes it a little bit easier. But I think communication is a really big important part of that, being open with your advisor or boss and saying, hey, I've got this going on, I might be, and then also being in communication with your section leaders and saying, I have work, there might be days where I am 2 minutes late to band. It's good to be open with communication kind of for how your semester is going to go. Yeah.
Great. Anyone else on the panel? All right.
Yeah, I'll take a quick stab at it. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, one of the amazing things about everyone in this band is that they're not just great in band, but they're also great outside of band too. So everyone, I'm sure, has so many different things that they're juggling, whether that be school, right? That's obviously people's first academic priority, being a student of the University of Minnesota, but many of us also have work, as Madeline was just describing too. And so that's right. It is definitely very much a possibility to do that. And I know it's one of the biggest concerns for a lot of incoming students, period. It has nothing just to do with band. It's just how am I going to juggle all this new stuff? But as we were just describing earlier, a luxury of being a university student is that you can kind of modify and schedule out all of your classes to work symbiotically or with one another in tandem. And that's super, super helpful when you have classes that change for semester to semester. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then many, many, many university, either departments or different places around the University Twin Cities area are super, super flexible with schedules. And especially if you let them know in advance, will make time for you to have time to do everything that you want to do.
Great, thank you, Tyrese. We have another question in the Q&A. How do uniforms fit? Are there a wide range of sizes? We did get new uniforms, although I guess they're not so new, although in the life of the band, they are new because I think the last ones lasted for about 20 years. But these ones are fantastic, still relatively new, but does anyone want to talk about the fit? And certainly we have different uniforms between the band and the guard as well. So all are relatively new at least. So does someone want to talk about the fit?
I can start for the wind uniforms. So we actually have 2 band members that are dedicated uniform managers, and their job, they get paid to make sure that your uniform fits and looks good. So if there's ever like any problems, there are people that are dedicated to fixing it. The uniforms themselves, we have a wide range of sizes. That being said, they don't always fit you perfectly right away because there are 300 people in band. We can't all have the like perfect fitting uniform. So we do have to work a little bit on like hemming pants and that kind of thing just to make sure that everything works out. But I've never heard of anyone who doesn't get that worked out within the first game.
Excellent. And on the guard side?
Yeah, so we don't march in the same uniforms as the band because we would have no mobility to put our arms above our head. So we have different ones. It consists of a pair of like yoga pants, jazz pants that we will ask you to purchase, as well as different shoes. We don't march with the same shoes. We march with jazz sneakers, I think they're called. Both of those things we will talk about at guard camp, and Kelly Koski, our instructor, will set up a big like order form and we'll all order them together. The actual uniform is a tunic, long sleeve tunic, and then we have a wrap that goes on top of it for pregame, as well as a glitter wrap that goes on for night games, so we sparkle. And then we have a little pea coat that goes with it. And with all of those things, we have like a wide range of sizes, and we try to fit everybody in. And we also have male uniforms for all of it. So yeah.
Great.
I'll jump in on this one too. We also, so those 2 uniforms, everybody is fit for one every year. And then that goes back into the band when you're done. But these lovely polos you see many of us wearing, we all have as a secondary uniform. Yes, thanks for showing them off. So this is what we wear for performances that are maybe a little more casual, or if it's really hot out in the beginning of the season. So we have the secondary uniform as well, that you'll get one of these polos, and we wear black shorts, black pants with that. So that's another thing. And then you get to keep that forever for good memories.
So we still need more questions. So if you have more questions out there, please feel free to use the Q&A while we're waiting for a few additional ones. What about memorization of music? Do I need to memorize my music? Can I have a gigantic flip folder on the field? What's the deal with that? Tyrese, do you wanna help us out?
Yeah, thank you so much. That is a really great question, and I know many different band programs look different with this type of a question. So I'm glad to answer you. We take pride in having our music memorized, especially because we are turning around shows in a week's time, and so many of us have that memorization period early on in the week, and then just only focus on marching as well throughout the rest of the week and in rehearsals. So that's kind of the general answer. And then specifically, I know for that person, if they were from the drum line, I can kind of give that perspective too. We additionally have a lot of cadences and different traditional music, things that we're constantly playing in situations like parades, when maybe other members or other sections are taking a break, that is memorized on top of a lot of the music that we perform and play with the rest of the band as an ensemble. And so a lot of that we do expect to be memorized right around the time of SPAT camp. And that is why we did design that weekly video assignment and that weekly kind of layout of all of our music that has been happening. I think we're in week 3 throughout the summer, so it's still not too late. If you're just joining us today, 3 weeks is a very short amount of time in the long scheme of things. And so we're trying to do our best to make sure everyone is fully prepared for the season. And even if auditions, even if you're not asked at auditions to join the drumline, that is perfectly still okay, because a lot of that music is the same music that we use for other members of different ensembles on campus, like pep bands and other music ensembles. So there's a lot of good stuff that we have with our memorization of our music, and that's why we decided to do that all together over the summer.
Caroline, how does that work for the wins? Similar?
Yeah, so like I said before, I never had any marching band experience coming into this. So having just this thought of having to memorize everything right away was like pretty freaky at first, because you're like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. But you really do develop that skill. I would recommend trying to memorize and just rehearse as much as possible before you get to SPAT camp, because that will just make your experience a lot easier, and you're able to focus on your marching more, sort of what Tyrese was saying. But I promise that you will be able to develop that over time. And we have different memorizing checks before shows. So typically instruments will go to their section leaders and prove that they have their music memorized, which also sounds pretty daunting, but I promise it's pretty relaxed. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Dr. Sample, we have a few questions that are sort of interrelated. Do you rent instruments? What type of things do I have to buy in terms of apparel? Are there fees associated with the marching band? Can you maybe walk us through some of those items?
Sure. So we do have fees for those, especially if you are in your first year of marching band. There are fees that we have for members of the marching band, especially if you're a first year member, for sure, especially. The initial SPAT camp fee, which covers the housing and meals, is $100 generally with that. And that just, like I said, covers everything, all the expenses in terms of meals and housing. And then, just like what Professor McCann said, these polos that we are sporting, specifically this maroon polo that we have, we also use that for our pep bands as well, if you are in our pep bands, and that is a $30 fee for the polos. And then we also wear ball caps, so when it's warm outside, both in the stands and also if we are marching in any kind of parades or any other kind of functions, any kind of function, we have a baseball cap that goes for $10. And then when it gets cold, and I mean very, very cold, we also have the winter hats that we have that are also $10. There's also a fee of, we had a question about instrument rental fees, and we do provide instruments and equipment for a fee, and it's $50 for the semester. So all brass instruments and Colorguard equipment and piccolos, those are offered through the band, and there is the fee for that. If you are another woodwind instrument, we do have those instruments available for the same fee, but it is encouraged that you also have your own instrument there to bring for that, more than likely. So all those fees are entered into your student account, and that's pretty much it for that.
Excellent. And then, so it sounds like if I have my own bass drum, Tyrese, can I use that on the line or not so much?
Yeah, that is a really good question. And that would be fun for a little bit, but I don't think that it would be great for sound and performance on the long term, if you guys know what I'm saying. So that is included in the instrument rental. So just like all of the other wind instruments and different brass instruments that Dr. Sample was mentioning, we do already have a set of drumline instruments that are standardized and uniform across all of our different sections or subsections in the drumline. And so we would be expected to use those. Great question.
Great. So just to clarify, we got a clarifying question here, Dr. Sample. Can I use my own instrument for the shows? And it sounds like that's dependent upon the section that you're in, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So, and it also depends on the actual instrument itself and the quality of that instrument as well. So if there's anything that we deem that's a little bit questionable in terms of the care of the instrument, et cetera, then there's obviously some avenues there with that. But I don't know if Professor McCann, do you have anything to chime in there with that as well, or?
No, you're right on.
Yeah.
So for drumline, Colorguard, brass, and piccolos, you will play in rehearsal and performance on a University of Minnesota marching band instrument. And then the other woodwinds, if you have an instrument that you're comfortable with having on the field, like don't bring your nice wood clarinet. But if you have the one you played before you played the nice wood clarinet, bring your own instrument. If you don't have one you're comfortable playing on the field, or if yours is not in good enough shape, then we have instruments that we can rent you.
Travel. Do we travel as a band, and how do we get there? Like Detroit and Florida, bowl games, other spots and places. Certainly, things are a little bit different now with COVID-19. But does someone want to talk about your experience with travel?
I can jump in here if that's all right. So for bowl games, like when we went to Florida or Detroit, the entire band travels. The method of travel is dependent on where we go and what athletics wants to do with us, because we are such a big group. So for Florida, we flew, which was fun. The entire plane is just band, which is always kind of interesting. For Detroit, we took buses, which was also interesting to be on a bus for 10 plus hours, leaving at like 2 a.m. Christmas Day. But it really was fun. So for those kind of trips, everyone travels. There are also Pep Band trips that happen. So for those are smaller groups. You have to be a member of a pep band, which is separate from marching band. And those are determined based on different requirements that if you're in pep band will be explained at that time, because they do kind of vary depending on the trip and how many people can go. But yeah, for marching band trips, everyone gets to go. And that's the important part, I think.
Great. And then what about away games? Do we ever get to go to away games? Not just bowls?
Yeah, so in season 127, so 2 seasons ago, I guess, we were able to travel to the University of Nebraska and perform a halftime and a part of a pregame, and as well as stand tunes at the football and away football game. All costs were covered by the university, actually. So we were able to go by the university and donors. So we were able to go and visit our bando friends in Nebraska. And I'm hoping, and Professor McCann, you can tell me otherwise, I'm hoping that in future years, we're able to go to more away games than just that one.
Yes, you're right, Madeline. We do hope that. We're doing a big fundraiser to raise enough money for us to be able to travel every year or every other year to a Big Ten away game. So this year, obviously, travel is not going to be in the cards for us going to a Big Ten away game for obvious reasons. But we're hoping that very soon as we can start doing that again, we can do trips to those away games because they're really a great time. And I'll throw in there with those trips to away games and the bowl trips, all the costs are covered by the university. So you as students going on those trips don't pay for anything unless you choose to do that. So down to, getting money for every single meal you have to eat, that's all covered by the university. Pep Band Trips as well.
And I will say from my perspective, it is pretty cool when you're on the charter bus and you just drive out directly to the tarmac and you get up on the plane and you don't have to go through the terminal. It feels pretty sweet. So, well, somehow our hour is just about over. Thanks for all of the great questions. I'm gonna ask the panelists as we sort of start to close here. Just to tell our potential new members what maybe additionally you would like them to know about marching band, or why you love being in marching band. Right, all of you have joined and are continuing to be a part of the pride of Minnesota. So what do you love about band as we end our time here? So Caroline, do you want to start us off?
I love being part of the marching band just because I feel so much more connected to the university. It just is that really special program that not a lot of people get to experience ever. And you just get to meet so many great people and just have such a built-in set of friends always that you see around campus. So that's really great.
So I'll go next. One of the things when I was coming to the U was I was really daunted. I thought that the size of the school was really big, and it was a really like dauntingly large, and so I was afraid of not making friends. And then I came to guard camp and I had like 15 instantaneous friends, and then I came to SPAC camp and I had 300 and some odd best friends, and then by the start of the school year I had a happy family and a safe space. And that's honestly one of the things that I love the most about marching band. And it's those friendships and like that family atmosphere and experience is something that I will probably cherish forever.
So I'm from a really small town. There were actually more people living in my residence hall freshman year than my entire town that I lived in my entire life. And so, like Madeline said, coming to school here was terrifying for me. It was an entirely new experience. And I also wasn't really in marching band in high school. So on a whim, I kind of decided to audition just because I had always thought that marching bands were really cool. And it's by far been the best decision I made coming into college. It really does give you a diverse community of people that become like your family from very early on.
Thank you, panelists. Yeah, it is incredible. I think in these days that we're all here now, we can really all understand how much music really impacts us and has impacted us. I find myself thinking about all the memories that I've made over the last 2 years all the time while I'm just sitting here by myself these days. And I'm sure that that is something that many others on this panel can relate to. In addition, many of you maybe have been part of music since you were in 4th grade or in elementary school. And to think that, coming to a new University of Minnesota experience, that you wouldn't still want to at least maintain that element of music and just love for it, that is just something that is such a core element of so many of us. And so that's really why I love it. Amongst the different things that the University of Minnesota Marching Band represents, like we've been talking today about the community, the tradition, the pride, the family, and the performance. All of those are really what we embody throughout this entire program. and for different reasons for different people. And so for me, I love the ability to be a member of the pride of Minnesota. That is so essential to my part of just being a University of Minnesota student. And the fact that I get to do that through performance and something that I already know that I love is, as Madeline said, something that I will cherish forever and always love.
Great. Well, thanks to all of the panelists for being with us, and thanks to all the attendees. Professor McCann, we'll turn it back to you to close this out.
Fantastic. So if you look in your chat, you're going to see a couple messages there on ways to get more questions answered or be in touch. So our email address is there. Anything you need, send it that way. And you can also follow us on Instagram for more information. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. So whatever way you want to connect, find us and connect. If you need any of that information and you're watching this later and don't have access to that chat, you can just email ummnmarch@umm.edu and we can direct you to wherever you need to go from there. So thanks for your interest in the band. You have not made a better choice than being interested in joining the Pride of Minnesota. These 4 students represent our 320 in an incredible way. And I am so grateful to you 4 for being here, but everyone who's watching, I want you to know that everybody else is just as fabulous as the 4 you've heard from today. It's truly a wonderful family. And for me, I'm inspired all the time by this group and by their energy and by their care for each other, their care for this band, their care for who we are as a larger sense, and their work to bring us into the future in a really good way. So we'd love to have you all be a part of it. So please send in those auditions and put in a ton of work. So you've got some really great auditions to send to us, and we will be in touch with you shortly after that with more information. Anything else, reach out and let us know. So thanks for joining us today, everybody. Take care.